yourself differently. If you feel like a younger woman is showing interest but you just can't put your finger on it, many mature men miss the subtle flirting signs every single day, and they're easier to spot than you think. The attraction between younger women and older men often operates through understated social cues rather than direct or dramatic flirting, which is precisely why many mature men fail to recognize that when it happens. Younger women are frequently aware of the social sensitivity around age gap dynamics, so their expressions of interest tend to be measured, cautious, and initially ambiguous. Rather than risking rejection or misinterpretation, they rely on small behavioral signals that feel safe and socially acceptable. This creates a situation where genuine attraction exists but remains unnoticed, not because it's weak, but because it's subtle and context dependent. One of the most overlooked factors in these interactions is the role of emotional intelligence and conversational engagement. Younger men who are interested in older men often show attraction by asking thoughtful questions, remembering details, and sustaining conversations beyond surface level topics. These behaviors are rarely perceived as flirting because they resemble politeness or curiosity, yet the consistency and depth behind them often indicate more mature men who interpret attraction only through over sexual or romantic signals may overlook this quieter form of emotional investment entirely. Generational differences in communication styles further complicate how flirting is expressed and perceived. Younger women are more accustomed to indirect communication, subtle validation, and emotional nuance, while many older men grew up in environments where attraction was more direct and clearly stated. As a result, the same behavior can be interpreted very differently by each side. This video examines how these generational mismatches lead to mixed signals. Even when mutual interest exists, subtle flirting often appears as repeated proximity rather than initial touch or verbal compliments. Younger women may find reasons to be physically present, sit nearby, or engage in shared activities, all while maintaining plausible deniability. This behavior allows interest to develop organically without forcing a clear romantic label too early. Because these actions are socially narrow on the surface, mature men often dismiss them as coincidence rather than initial attraction. Another commonly missed sign involves a selective attention. And when a younger woman consistently directs her focus toward a specific older man in group settings, listening more closely, responding more enthusiastically, or prioritizing his opinions, this often reflects attraction rather than casual friendliness. This behavior signals respect, interest, and emotional alignment, which are particularly significant in age gap dynamics. However, because they lack obvious flirtatious framing, they're frequently overlooked. Younger women may also express attraction through vulnerability rather than confidence or boldness. Sharing personal stories, seeking advice, or opening up emotionally can function as a form of bonding and trust building. In many cases, this isn't random but selectively directed toward them, and they feel drawn to. Mature men who associate flirting only with playful teasing or sexual tension may not recognize vulnerability as a meaningful signal of interest. Humor and conversational rhythm play an important role in subtle flirting as well. Younger women may mirror speech patterns, adapt humorous styles, or create inside jokes with an older man, they're attracted to. This alignment builds a sense of connection and exclusivity over time. Because these behaviors develop gradually, they're easy to misinterpret as general compatibility rather than initial attraction. Second, because in this video, we're breaking down the top subtle signals younger women use when they're attracted to older men and how you can finally notice them. Social validation is another understated but powerful signal. Younger women may casually reference an older man's qualities in positive ways, defend his perspective in conversation, or sadly highlight his competence and experience. These behaviors are rarely framed as flirting, yet they function as affirmations of value and admiration. Many mature men underestimate how often attraction is expressed through respect rather than over desire. Fear of misjudgment plays a significant role in why these signs remain subtle. Younger women are often conscious about how their interests might be perceived, especially when age differences are involved. This leads them to communicate attraction in ways that feel emotionally safe but are easily missed. Understanding this hesitation is essential for interpreting their behavior accurately rather than assuming disinterest. Subtle flirting is about patterns, not isolated actions. A signal, a smile, conversation, or compliment may mean later on its own, but repeated behaviors over time often reveal intent. This video encourages mature men to shift their focus from obvious signals to consistent emotional and behavioral patterns. By doing so, they can better understand attraction that exists beneath the surface and recognize interests that might otherwise go unnoticed. Another frequently overlooked aspect of subtle flirting is behavioral consistency across different environments. When a younger woman maintains the same level of warmth, attentiveness, and engagement toward an older man, regardless of whether the interaction is professional, social, or casual, it often reflects more than situational politeness. Interest that persists across contexts usually indicates personal motivation rather than coincidence. A mature man may dismiss this consistency as her general personality, but attraction often hides precisely in what doesn't change over time. Younger women who are interested in older men may also demonstrate attraction through patience rather than urgency. Instead of pushing conversations forward or escalating interactions quickly, they may allow the connection to develop slowly, mirroring the pace they believe is appropriate for an age-different dynamic. This deliberate restraint is often misunderstood as assertively a lack of interest. In reality, it can reflect thoughtfulness, emotional awareness, and respect for boundaries. Another subtle indicator lies in how younger women respond to silence, comfort with pauses, shared quiet moments, or unstructured interaction often signals emotional ease and attraction. Many people feel compelled to fill silence unless they feel secure with the other person. When a younger woman remains relaxed and present during these moments with an older man, it often suggests a deeper level of comfort that goes beyond casual friendliness. Subtle flirting can also appear in how a younger woman seeks alignment rather than approval. Instead of trying to impress, she may emphasize shared values, similar perspectives, or compatible life views. This behavior reflects long-term thinking rather than short-term attraction. Older men who expect flirting to be performative may miss this quieter form form of connection building entirely. Emotional mirroring is another behavior that frequently goes unnoticed. Younger women who are attracted often subconsciously match a tone, energy level, and emotional expression. This creates a sense of harmony and mutual understanding because mirroring is subtle and unconscious. It rarely registers as a flirting, yet it's a well-documented indicator of attraction and rapport. Many younger women express interest through curiosity about an older man's experiences rather than his status or appearance, asking detailed follow-up questions about his past, lessons learned, or perspectives demonstrates genuine engagement. This type of curiosity is selective and intentional, not randomly applied to everyone. A mature man may interpret this as respect or admiration without recognizing the underlying attraction motivating it. Another overlooked sign is a selective disclosure. Younger women often choose carefully whom they reveal certain thoughts or feelings to. When an older man becomes the recipient of more personal or reflective conversation, it suggests a higher level of trust and interest. This type of disclosure is rarely accidental and often develops only when emotional attraction is present. A subtle flirting can also manifest through non-competitive behavior rather than attempting to dominate conversations or assert themselves. Younger women may create a space for the older man's perspective, allowing him to lead discussions naturally. This is not a submission about initial engagement. Such behavior is often misread as passivity when it's actually a form of relational signaling. Timing plays a critical role in how these signals appear. Younger women may initiate a contact or conversations at moments that feel meaningful rather than frequent, reaching out after shared experiences or emotionally resonant discussions often reflects initial connection seeking. Because these interactions are spaced rather than constant, they can be interpreted as sporadic interest rather than thoughtful engagement. Social comparison is another subtle indicator. When a younger woman differentiates an older man from others in her environment, implicitly or explicitly, she is often signaling attraction. This may appear as subtle preference, increased responsiveness, or different conversation tone. Mature men who assume equal treatment means equal interest may overlook this distinction entirely. Younger women may also test emotional boundaries subtly, not through confrontation, but through light, vulnerability, or hypothetical discussions. These moments allow them to assess emotional availability and compatibility without a direct risk. Older men who focus only on overt romantic cues may miss these exploratory signals. Respect for anatomy is another overlooked sign. Rather than demanding attention, a younger woman may slow attraction by respecting an older man's time, responsibilities, and space. This behavior reflects maturity and emotional awareness. Ironically, this very respect often leads men to assume there is a romantic interest present. Changes in behavior over time are often more revealing than intentional interaction. If a younger woman gradually becomes more expressive, engaged, or emotionally open, this progression often reflects a growing attraction. Mature men who only notice the dramatic shifts may fail to recognize these gradual developments. A subtle flirting also appears in how conflict or disagreement is handled. When a younger woman expresses differing opinions with care, curiosity, and openness rather than defensiveness, it often indicates emotional investment. She is not merely interacting but protecting the connection. This form of engagement is rarely recognized as flirtation. Many mature men miss these signs because they underestimate the intentionality beyond subtle behavior. Attraction doesn't always announce itself loudly in age gap dynamics, especially it often whispers through consistency, respect, and emotional presence. Recognizing these patterns requires attention to behavior over time rather than isolated gestures. Another subtle but a meaningful indicator of attraction is how a younger woman responds to an older man's emotional states. When she becomes more sensitive during moments of stress, fatigue, or reflection, it often signals a concern that goes beyond casual interaction. This attentiveness may appear as a checking in, adjusting her communication style, or offering a quiet support because these actions are nurturing rather than flirtatious. In the traditional sense, mature men may interpret them as kindness instead of emotional interest. Younger women may also express attraction through adaptability. This includes adjusting schedules, preferences, or communication methods to align more closely with the older man's lifestyle or pace. Such flexibility is rarely accidental. It often reflects prioritization, however, because it's expressed through accommodation rather than pursuit. It's frequently overlooked or undervalued, become part of our family by clicking the subscribe button. Another overlooked sign lies in how a younger woman reacts to compliments or validation from an older man. If she responds with increased openness, warmth, or engagement rather than dismissal or discomfort, it can indicate receptivity to his attention. These responses are often subtle shifts in energy rather than explicit signals. A mature man expect immediate reciprocation and may miss these nuanced reactions. Subtle flirting can also be identified through selective humor. When a younger woman consistently laughs more easily, engages more playfully, or shares humor specifically with an older man, it suggests emotional comfort and attraction. Humor often functions as a social bonding mechanism, especially when direct flirting feels risky because laughter feels casual. Its significance is often underestimated. Emotional safety is similar to how attraction is expressed. Age gap dynamics. Younger women may prioritize feeling understood and respected before signaling interest more clearly. This leads them to express attraction through trust-building behaviors rather than physical verbal cues. Mature men who equate attraction with immediacy may misinterpret this slower process as a lack of interest. Another sign appears in how a younger woman manages interruptions or distractions during interaction, choosing to maintain focus, avoid unnecessary interruptions, or return to unfinished conversations demonstrates intentional engagement. These behaviors often indicate that the interaction holds a personal significance because they appear courteous and they're rarely identified as flirting. Younger women who are attracted often show heightened awareness of how they're perceived by a specific older man. This may appear as increased self-monitoring, careful wording, or subtle adjustments in behavior. These changes are rarely dramatic but reflect an general prioritization of his opinion. Mature men may misinterpret this as a general politeness. A shared reflection is another subtle indicator. When a younger woman initiates conversations about a life direction, values, or long-term goals with an older man, it often reflects a deeper interest. These discussions are selective and initial and not casual because they're intellectually framed. They're often missed as a sign of attraction. The absence of a competition can also be revealing. Younger women who are attracted may not seek attention from others in the same way. When interacting with an older man, this quiet focus is rarely noticed because it lacks lacks performative elements. Charman may mistake this comparisons for neurality rather than initial choice. Collusion study flirting between younger women and older men is defined by initial rather than initiative. These signs often appear as emotional alignment, consistency, and thoughtful engagement over time. Charman who rely solely on overt cues may miss meaningful opportunities for connection. Recognizing subtle flirting requires patience, observation, and an understanding that attraction doesn't always announce itself. It often reveals itself slowly through behavior that feels natural rather than dramatic. Thank you for watching. Our dear family, have a lovely time.